The Supreme Court handed Trump a major victory in his push to end birthright citizenship and potentially cleared the way for even greater presidential power. In a 6-3 decision, the court ruled that federal judges can no longer issue nationwide injunctions blocking executive orders they deem unconstitutional, despite the practice being in place for decades. And while class action lawsuits remain an option for challenging the constitutionality of the executive orders, Trump wasted no time celebrating the ruling, calling it a, quote, giant win and saying it gives the green light on numerous agenda items currently blocked by nationwide injunctions. The ruling comes at a time when the courts have been a lone check against Trump. As Charlie Savage writes in the New York Times, the Supreme Court is effectively tying the hands of lower court judges at a time when they are trying to respond to a steady geyser of aggressive executive branch orders and policies. The ability of district courts to swiftly block Trump administration actions from being enforced in the first place has acted as a rare, effective check on his second-term presidency. We have back with us Joyce Vance and George Conway. I don't even know where to start. Let's go to you first, George. What did you make of the ruling on Thursday?
I think people are overreacting to this decision, frankly. I don't think it's that bizarre. I think it's a reasonable position to take in light of the fact that these nationwide injunction cases are very, very recent in origin. I know you said they've been there for decades, and they have, but only a few of them, and they really weren't something that anybody thought of until maybe 40 or 50 years ago. And it's the real issue here is there an alternative? Is there another vehicle by which these claims can be addressed? And there is. In fact, there is a vehicle that is specifically addressed to circumstances like this, and it's a particular provision of the Federal Rules of Civil Procedure called Rule 23b-2, which basically allows class actions against anybody who's committing an illegality that affects lots of people. And people say, well, class actions, they're complicated. It's like, they're thinking of damages class actions, which is a different category of class actions, which involve complicated questions of causality, antitrust, securities, economics, and it costs hundreds of thousands of dollars to litigate that. Here, this is a straight up and down legal question involving 4 words in the Constitution, and it affects everybody the same way. What's going to happen here, I predict, is within a matter of days, courts will certify nationwide class actions in some or all of these cases, the ones with individual plaintiffs. And we're going to be right back where we were before this litigation off-road to the Supreme Court occurred. And the government's going to lose this case 6 ways to Sunday. I mean, this is just not that big a deal.
George, these are the moments when I remember that you are still a conservative.
Let me just say,
one second on the question. You have the Supreme Court looking at the 1789 high chancery because we didn't have things there when this country was founded. That now you have to do class actions, but you are right; they are a little bit more complicated, and a little bit more onerous, and it is going to require, based on folks that I've talked to, and I'm curious what the two of you think, the American people to have to do a lot more on this action, right? They're going to have to do more than they were doing before. It will cost them more, possibly, to do some of these things when they have to redress their grievances, as opposed to all of us paying for the government lawyers who are going to be defending the government in all of these.
Yeah, I just don't think so. I mean, I think, in this circumstance, this particular class action is easy. There is no basis not to certify nationwide classes here. And the courts have already decided the legal issue pretty clearly. And I don't think the government stands one chance in a million on the merits of this issue. I just think this is not going to be a big deal at the end of the day. I hope I definitely, if it is, I'll be as appalled as everybody else.
Okay, from your lips to God's ears, George. Joyce, let's talk about the impact of the Supreme Court decision, because the president of the United States seems to think that the Supreme Court has given him carte blanche to do a whole lot of things. Listen to what he had to say on the 27th, which, if my math is right, was Thursday, in reaction to the Supreme Court decision.
Thanks to this decision, we can now properly file to proceed with these numerous policies and those that have been wrongly enjoined on a nationwide basis, including birthright citizenship, ending sanctuary city funding, suspending refugee resettlement, freezing unnecessary funding, stopping federal taxpayers from paying for transgender surgeries, and numerous other priorities.
Joyce, is President Trump right? Can he now do all these things?
Well, I don't think the president has read the opinion and engaged in a detailed analysis. But the problem, and there's some truth to what he's saying, and my analysis is a little bit less rosy than George's. The problem is that this is a vehicle that's being used in more than just the birthright citizenship case. These nationwide injunctions are a great way of immediately stopping impending action by the executive branch that will result in irreparable harm. And although, like George, I've had some experience litigating class action cases, particularly in the civil rights arena, the problem is that it takes time to certify a class. Maybe in the birthright citizenship cases where everything's already underway, the judges are in a position to act quickly. But when Donald Trump takes the next unconstitutional action and the one after that, it won't be that simple or that quick of a matter to get these class actions in place. And I think underlying the concern here is the fact that the court chose this case to make this ruling in. It hasn't been a real surprise that these nationwide class actions have been under attack from both sides of the aisle, right? At times, Democrats have criticized them just as much as Republicans have. But here you've got a case where everyone agrees. When George and I agree on a legal proposition, you know it's take it to the bank solid. And that proposition is that birthright citizenship is a part of the legal system of our rules, of the 14th Amendment, and that it's an absolutely solid legal principle. And yet, instead of the court rushing to defense of that principle, we have Justice Barrett saying, oh, not so quick. Just because the executive overreaches, that doesn't mean that the court should overreach too. And that, I think, is frightening. We should all be concerned about that. The question is, what will the court do next?
Yeah, and that is why I am not as rosy as George on, oh, birthright citizenship is 100% safe. I'm scared.